Hi, everybody. One time when my son was young, he had a difficult decision to make and just didn't know what to do. I could see he felt insecure about making a mistake. He felt he'd made poor choices before and was worried that this would just be another one. I tried several times to reassure him, but the longer the indecision went on, the more insecure he became. As I mentioned before, my son was a real Star Trek fan. So I came up with the idea to ask him if he thought that Captain Picard would know what to do in this situation. And he said, well, yeah. So I suggested to him that all he had to do was to become Captain Picard and do what he would do. Well, it took him a while to decide that that might make some sense, but in the long run it worked, and many times after that. You know, it takes getting past the programming we've been under, that indoctrination into insecurity that permeates throughout this world. I mean, how could we possibly make a difference? After all, we're only human, right? No, we've just been dumbed down by the constant pelting of bad news. And when all that we see is bad news, we feel helpless. No wonder we feel unable to make a decision or have any hope for a happy future. So how can we change this to become more confident and see a better world? Well, first we have to grasp the reality of what's going on here, that there's a negative agenda pulling us down. Research on your own and find truth. It's all out there for the discerning soul. Then, once we ascertain the problem, only then do we have the potential to change it. But how can we change an entire planet? By changing ourselves. We can't change anything until we've undergone those changes within ourselves. We first have to recognize there's a problem before we can transform it. We must see and understand it and then become that change before it can manifest in the outer world. And this takes patience and trust. Create your own world first. Then you will begin to see those changes taking place around you. So, how do we create our own little world? Do we first have to deny the one we're in? Of course not. It has its place, but we don't have to live in it. We need to convince ourselves that we deserve to be happy and abundant. It sometimes helps if we can close our eyes and make ourselves really small enough to place in the palm of our hand, and then hold that self out at arm's length and speak to ourselves as we would a beloved child or friend. What would we say to bring them comfort or confidence? What would they need to hear? You know what to say. Then take that knowledge and comfort inside yourself to become your own. You must be able to believe that about yourself. I am that. That's me. I am Captain Picard. So, how is it possible to maintain a positive outlook while being told there are all these awful disasters going on in our world? Yet, this is truly the key. For example, if something a friend told you has made you sad about an accident or misfortune that happened at some place around the planet, if she hadn't told you about that, would you still feel sad? No, because it would not even be in your reality, your world. You know, we as humans are greatly affected by other people and what they believe, especially those who proclaim themselves as experts. Well, admittedly, it's not as easy to feel good about many things that are going on in the world, but it's our beliefs and the attention we give it that most affects our frequency. So, do we feel that if we choose not to tune into these scenes of tragedy, that it makes us a bad person? Yet, if we cry and worry over these things, our remorse and suffering makes us a better person? Well, although this obviously doesn't make a lot of sense, sadly, we're taught that way. As children, we're taught that because of the starving children in Afghanistan, we should clean our plates. As if stuffing ourselves with food somehow brings help or comfort to those children who have no food to eat. What? What? One of our greatest virtues as humans is our ability to empathize. Yet it's also one of our greatest blocks to a peaceful mind that could ensure us a high vibration. What becomes most critical is to use what is innate within us, our skill as observers, to be able to observe a chaotic scene or circumstance while distancing ourselves from the emotion that it evokes. This can allow us the strength and courage to be of the greatest help, either physically or mentally. I mean, what good are we going to be to another in an emergency or emotional situation if our sensitive nature causes us to fall apart by too strongly identifying ourselves with the one in trouble? You know, when you're in a place of positive expectation, you are holding a high vibration. And if you're able to hold this positive vibration for a time, it will eventually become your dominant frequency. This means that when we are in the presence of someone who's sad, our calm demeanor can lift the other into a higher vibration. However, if we spend our time getting caught up in the other's problems, you know, commiserating with them about the wrongness of their plight or the tragedy or suffering, we lose our ability to be of assistance to them because we have become the victim instead of the healer or the rescuer. Have you ever heard the phrase, "She lives in her own little world"? Well, I have. Well, who is this person who usually earns this, description? It's most often a happy child or someone who never seems to take anything too seriously, never gets upset about anything, always smiling, sitting in peace, happy just playing music or working in the garden while the world freaks out around them. Well, my mother was able to do that. She was able to sit in her chair and read or write with the noisy activities of kids playing and phones ringing and cats and dogs and people coming and going. She often wouldn't even hear someone talking to her or calling her name. And if we would touch her body, by tapping her on the shoulder, for instance, her whole body would jump up startled because she was gone, off somewhere else. Where? In her own little world. See, this is our answer. Yeah, but how do we stay in a high vibration? Well, in today's crazy world of threats and fears, through creating our own little sacred space, building a realm of our own. So, what conditions do we want to live in? What circumstances would be ours if we lived as we wished? I suggest that we contemplate this, visualize it with as much detail as we want, or simply as a statement. My world is beautiful. Everyone in my world is friendly and fulfilled and abundant. My world is free from suffering, from war, from poverty. And turn the TV off. If you don't see it, it's not in your reality. But is this only denial? No, you're not denying that the other world exists, the illness and the hatred, the loneliness. Sure, it may exist, but do we really want to live there? Why would we choose to live there if we don't have to? And we're not doing this to run away from the world and its conflicts. We do this to become creators of something better. Put into your world only those elements you wish to be there. You choose. Imagine it to be, and it is. You decide that those who walk by are friendly and happy. You decide that the driver in the next car is a wonderful being of love and kindness. Make these things your truth, and they will reflect that frequency of love. Have you ever noticed on your walk when a person is walking or driving towards you and they may seem, kind of remote or distracted, and then they look over your way, and if you smile your very best smile out toward them and say, good morning, or comment on the weather, or wish them a beautiful day, have you noticed that their whole demeanor changes? Their hand may go up in a friendly wave, or their face lights up, their body straightens. And you did that. There have been studies done that show that when someone smiles at you and you smile back, your brain chemistry changes and your body is flooded with endorphins. Imagine the power you have. You have the power to lift another soul, including yourself. My favorite true story that Wayne Dyer often told is that of a despondent man who had chosen to kill himself. He was quite determined and had it all planned out. He would drive to a dangerous stretch of road that he knew about, which had an elevated cliff embankment that rose up high above a rocky ocean shore. And his plan was to drive his car over that cliff. And he left the house fully determined to do just that. On his way, he had to stop at a traffic light. And while he was stopped there, a beautiful young blonde woman in a a hot, racy red sports car pulled up beside him. And as he glanced over at her, she greeted him with this huge, friendly smile. Well, he was so stunned and impressed by this, that this beautiful woman would care enough to smile at him, that he decided right then and there that if he was worthy enough to gain the attention of such a lovely, smiling woman, he must be worthy of life itself. And instead of driving to the cliff that day, he drove home. That chance meeting saved this man's life. And the most important takeaway here is that she wasn't trying to save the man's life. She was just being herself, who she is. This lovely being was simply expressing her true nature. And all of us can do the same. What if we all could realize the power we have to change another's outlook simply through a smile or a pleasant greeting or taking a moment to wish them well? And when we do this, when we send out our love out toward another, it bounces right back to us. And this builds upon itself. I notice on my walks that the more friendly waves or happy greetings I receive or give, the better I feel. I often return home filled with gratitude for my life. And you know how we're always wondering what our purpose is in this human life? Well, from my perspective, if this is all we ever did, sharing our smiles and love with others, our life would reflect a harmony and magnificence unequaled by most any. Many of us believe that those who make the most difference here are those who make the biggest splash. You know, the politicians who rant on about changing the world, or those who have acquired great wealth and build huge skyscrapers in honor of themselves or their technological invention, or the actor who brings us to tears or makes us laugh, or the singer who brings thousands to his stage. Are these the role models for a better world? Or are they just making the loudest noise? It's not the one you see on television, announcing his own virtues to mankind, who makes the real difference in the frequencies of love and awareness. It's most often that peaceful soul hiking the forest path to photograph the newly sprouted spring leaves, or the sun sparkling off the distant mountains, or the one who communes with the stars while the world is sleeping, or the one who isn't afraid to hold a hand or share a hug with a stranger. It's the one who doesn't follow the rules of control, the one who lives a life of love. Love is what created this world, and love is all that will ever be required to save and protect it. And the same goes for all of us. We do not need a government or any other controlling body to tell us how to live. All we need is ourselves, expressing who we are, our true innate nature, the pure essence of love, and sharing that with others. This is all that will ever be needed to build that new world we all hope to see. And what What is this new world we hope for? It's the one we hold in our hearts. It's the one that shines forth from our eyes, that causes us to choke back tears at the beauty of a new sunrise. It's the one we want to give to our child. It's what makes us root for the good guy in the movie. It's what lies within each one of us, the beauty that causes our hearts to keep beating. It's that which lies at the core of each and every one of us. There's only one ingredient needed to build a new world, a new earth, and that ingredient is love. Thanks. Bye-bye.